Okay, well, it is May 1st, you guys. How you feeling? New month, heading into spring, nice weather, all the things. And it's kind of like we get right into it, right? Because the 30th finished on a Sunday, so we got to pop right into action. But I'm glad our meeting is today because I think it gives us the opportunity to maybe process and talk out maybe anything further that you might have learned from Launch to Global, anything that might be going on. And also, like, two things were stirred up in me from Launch to Global. So I thought they would be good topics. And it's actually what we're going to talk about today here and then on Team Time tonight. And something that's come up for me recently was around the phrase aim to stay. And just like raise your virtual hand. We have the little reactions down there. Just raise your hand if you've heard of aim to stay or if you know what it means. So, right, put there. And just be honest, right? We're going to have a real transparent call today. So if you don't know or you're not sure, okay. All right. Well, good. Thank you for that because honestly, it was something, we evolve, I've been doing this 12 years and we evolve and different terminology and words come in. And, I realized like, wow, maybe I haven't translated this or translated in that kind of language, but I've noticed the language is coming up again. And we'll talk about what aim to stay is, but it really is around awakening intrinsic motivation for ourselves. And when we can do that, it's how do we develop the skills and why is it necessary for helping our coaches do that and also helping our clients as well. And the other thing that showed up was really talking about finances. It's not something we've really talked about as an organization to help people prepare. We are all entrepreneurs and self-employed, and some people, like, it's hard sometimes to really get a grasp on what we're doing, what's possible with Optavia, and it's also possible to make mistakes as you're growing your business. So no better than Meg Johnson, who is a retired certified financial planner to spend some time tonight on Team Time with us. So I hope you can be on tonight for that and invite your coaches to it. Invite your coaches because I think the sooner we can learn this kind of stuff, and we are going to be making it more of our vernacular that we're talking about on a regular basis. And I think the one point I want to make today, like in our conversation in this call and also around that is, never losing sight that the coolest thing about our business is that we earn income, right? And we can fulfill our own personal dreams only by helping somebody else do the same, by helping them get healthy, et cetera. And I think, honestly, if we get more focused on this, we'll have the ability to help even more people stay more motivated, stay more excited. So I'm going to ask the next question. I think I'm just going to have you, actually, we'll do the virtual hand again. So put your hand out and I want you to be 100% honest with it because could be one of two things, but Meg shared yesterday, we were going to do a drawing for everybody that did their MAP, their monthly action plan, and turned it into their coach for yesterday, right? So the ideal thing is on the last day of the month, when you have all your data available, that you can put it together, prepare it so you're ready to hit the ground running. So in pure honesty, right? Because I didn't do mine till today. So I'm going to let you know I didn't get mine done yesterday, but did you get yours done yesterday? Just raise your virtual hand if you did. Meg and Lucy, okay. Gonna be a neck and neck tie for that drawing. Gonna be a battle. Okay, so let's talk about it. I don't want to make this a call that I'm necessarily talking at you, but would anybody be willing to come off mute and just share, maybe, is it unusual that you didn't get it done, or is the MAP something you're scared of and you don't like doing? But what is it about it that maybe why we haven't gotten it?
Well, Dee, the reason we didn't do our MAP yesterday, because yesterday was April 30th. And I was thinking, if you do your MAP, what happens if something changes in your business? What happens if somebody comes in with a last minute order, somebody goes over a new rank, or a client turns into a coach or something? So much could happen on the last day of the month. And I thought, that's a waste of time. It's a waste of resources. Why not do it on the first after you have all that information? So, Sean and I, we did our MAP first thing this morning rather than yesterday, where we maybe have to do it twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, valid, very valid, Frank. Very valid. I do recommend if you don't do this, on the last day of the month, I always do a screenshot from Optavia Connect so that I can see all the data is right there at my fingertips front on with it. So I'm getting some me toos. So if who is Zoom user? I don't have a name on it. Zoom user has their hand up.
It might be Emily.
Oh, it is Emily. Did you have something to share, Emily, or were you talking about your map?
I was just going to tell you why I didn't do it so you guys could just tear me apart. So I didn't do it because I was busy doing a whole bunch of other stuff. And to be honest, even though Meg's gone over it with me about 100 times, I don't really understand why I do it. Like I do it and then I don't look at it again for the next whole month, you know? So that's
Okay.
just brutal honesty, but I would love to do it.
Okay, good. Thank you. We're gonna, that will be good to bring into the conversation as we're talking about the aim to stay and structural tension. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, Jen Davis.
Hey, I was just gonna give some feedback for myself. So I use Excel a lot, and so usually I have all of my data in Excel, and then I'll get my projected Premier report and paste it into there. So it's kind of like my map, it's just not in the same format. So that's one of the reasons why I usually don't do the map, because I have all the numbers in front of me and I'm looking at the people who I know their upcoming orders are coming, and I have kind of a side list of leads and stuff like that. So just some feedback from me.
Okay. Do you share that with your coach, Jen, so that you guys can talk about it during your, your mentoring sessions, so your coach
No.
knows what your goals are?
That's a good point. No, I haven't shared that with her, but I just kind of keep the running total, and then just kind of tell her the people that I'm following up with and things like that. But that's a good point. Maybe just to share the overall, or even a screenshot with her, just to say, here's what it looks like.
So we know what no pun intended, we know what you're aiming for, so that we can help you, right? Whether you're, to celebrate if you're overshooting those goals, or, if you're struggling, to help collaborate, with it as well. So great. So let's hear from Michelle and Debbie before we move on. Michelle, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I normally have mine done by midnight on the last day of the month. I did, I captured my numbers because I was working on, a client, reactivating her and getting her order in. And that was kind of late that night. And I had been at an expo for 2 days. So I was just flat out exhausted. So I captured my numbers, but, normally I go through and reflect on all my clients and my potentials and everything, and really write down what I'm really working on, not just to fill up the sheet. Do you see what I'm saying? So I didn't have time to really do that processing. So it's something I'm working on today.
Okay. So first of the month. I think the most important messaging, and it's going to make more sense as we are going through this, is that we do put that game plan together so that we know where we are, what it is we want, and then what would be the action during the month that we would be doing to achieve it. So Debbie Pascal.
Okay, so I don't have, it's not like I can be like, yeah, normally I get it done the night before, and just this one time was a fluke, because that's not true. But I will say the reason for this time being a little weird was because I was like coming in like squeak, coming in at the finish line just there, because I just got an order the last day of the month, and so I was trying to get all the numbers to happen, and so I ended up just pushing it out, and that was my reason. But yeah, so that is like, I think what Frank said was that, like, just if the number wasn't going to match right. But now in retrospect, I'm thinking I should have just done it and had the number be wrong, but at least it would have been done. I'll do better next time.
Well, the one thing, I think the messaging I want everybody to know in this is we're always evolving. So, right. So let's take away any self-judgment, any critical, or I don't want to bring it up, or I don't even really know where the map is. Like we're always learning, right? And I'm constantly learning. And one thing that has become crystal clear to me, and I'm just going to be purely transparent, but I think it's being reflected. They always say your business kind of reflects where you are, right? And what's going on with you. And some of you guys know my personal situation and some don't, but the past 2 years have been extremely hard for me. And Larry and I divorced this year. And Gosh, I feel like I'm gonna get emotional, but I will tell you, I feel like I've been in survival mode. And month to month have been like, okay, I hope I make my rank, hope I make my rank, and it's really operating from a place of fear. And something that really resonated with me was something that Dan Bell said in the IND and above training. And he said, it is much more pleasurable and to build your business from desire and love versus need. Right. And I think that, I don't know, I mean, maybe blink if you feel like your goals lately have just become to get your rank, to get to 6,000, to get to 10,000. Right? Or have we really gone back to the roots of what it is that we want? Like, why do I want that rank? Like, what does that transpose? Really, what does it transpose to the income from it in my personal life? Like, what is it? Why am I doing this? Right. And that's kind of what I had to come back to is I realized for myself, and it was really, that's why I go to every event, because I think we can be awakened and reawakened, is that I really wasn't tapping into my intrinsic motivation. When you're driven by fear, that is extrinsic motivation, right? So I think, did you just raise your hand, Jennifer? No. No. Okay.
I was clapping for you. Those were 2 hands clapping.
Oh,
Because I agree. Like, I don't do a map ever because I used to do it and it felt like busy work. I can go on Optavia Connect and I'm very familiar with my numbers and I can see exactly what it is. But I loved the freedom of hearing, like, this week, it's not about the rank. It's not. It's about helping the world get healthy. And I have a different mindset. I mean, this is fun money for us. So I don't have to like live in the pressure of the rank either, but my own mind tells me I do. And so I was just giving you the clapping because you said like, it's really about the heart of why we started. And I don't know. So I'm not saying the map can't do those things. Don't misunderstand me if you do the map. Just it's not been good for me because it's been about a rank, not about people.
Yeah. And I love I love your honesty that you said it feels like homework and you don't like it. And what that means is, and what I want to do is kind of go through this exercise on aim to stay, is it at the end of the day, like the map is for you, right? You're not really doing it for your coach. You're not doing it, whatever. So it's so that hopefully it brings you to your goals. So like whatever it is that you're striving for that there, but it was brought up to me. I mean, I wonder, do you feel like sometimes you're like, do you know what every coach on your team wants? Like, right? Like, so sometimes we come in at the end of the month and it's been really helpful working with Eddie, and Eddie will come to me and say like, hey, so-and-so is one order away from their next bonus, whatever. But if I'm not real clear on what that person wants, or if I haven't been in close communication with them, it's not a conversation that feels good. Right. So being this process, I think the more that we can become clear with it about and working with it through ourselves, then working with our coaches, then it can also be translated down to our clients. Because I mean, do you feel like your clients are just they're just aiming for a number on the scale, right? They don't really know what they're doing or what it means and all of that. And something Kristen Dowd had said was with, when we're awakening people, and whether it's your clients or coaches, just like digging and digging and digging and taking copious notes so that we can help others achieve. And so your map and sharing your map is just one layer of how your coach can partner with you. And what I'm hoping is that we all start to dream bigger, but your coach can partner with you to make it your reality. So at the end of the game, it's all the what's in it for me. It's all in it for you. So before we go on anymore, I would love to hear from you, Lauren.
Yeah, and I apologize. I'm at the park with the girls. So, but yeah, I was just kind of, I guess, in response to that and what Lucy put in the chat in response to Jennifer. I think I used to struggle with the map because I felt like it was making it about income or rank. But what I found was it really helped me to focus on the people because I was being more intentional about my clients and am I connecting with each of these people? And I'll go through now with a highlighter when I'm filling in all the orders, projected orders, and highlight the people that I feel like, man, I really want to reach out to this person. I really want to check on them. I really want to be intentional with them. And then, I like to fill up the potential client and potential coach spots and even write extra in, and have like people that I'm intentionally following up with, that I'm praying for, that and so it helps me. Yes, the numbers and the rank are part of that transactional leadership and part of, it is a business that you're running. So I think being mindful and intentional, but remembering that those are all reflective of people. So I think that when I'm working with my coaches on the importance of the map, I love to stress that to them, that it's going to help you be more intentional and mindful in your business. Because just like they talked about this weekend in Dallas or last weekend, if you don't know where you're aiming, then where are you going to go? So, and I have to also confess that I have not done the map in a couple months, and it's on my schedule to do today. And I've realized I haven't been super intentional the last couple months with not doing my map. So definitely something that I think is super important and valuable.
Yeah, I agree. I think I remember hearing like Brad Miller saying like your map should be messy. Like by the end of the month, it's got coffee stains on it and wrinkles as you're highlighting and taking care of things. But I do think, even for me, if I don't do the map, especially if I don't lay out the people, I have been in a situation, I've been tending to lose people. Like just lose people. I'm just going to be fully transparent today, but like lose some of my client support, who's on plan, who's not, as well as who are my potentials, right? And who do I need to follow up with? So it's really, like I said, it's a tool for me. And by not doing it, what happens is you can end up, and like probably some of us have felt it sometimes, that you're just, at the end of the month, you're just taking what you can get, right? And it's just like, phew, I just kind of getting by, versus are you really in a place of creation? And creation is if you think about why you got into Optavia and the dreams you have for yourself, et cetera, like, are you still operating on that level, or has it become just more of survival? Right. And that's just, it's not a fun place to be, survival versus creation. So I'm going to pull up two things. I think I'm going to talk about the structural tension chart first, because the map is actually based off structural tension. Raise your virtual hand if you've heard of the structural tension or seen the structural tension chart. Okay, a good amount of us. Awesome. Okay, and thanks for your honesty if you're not sure. Okay, so the structural tension, let me pull this up. So Dr. A partnered with Robert Fritz, and this was some of the early development. Can you guys see my screen? Yes. This was some of the early development work of how we were starting to help people set goals in a way that could be measurable, right? And going from a place of what your current reality is to what your goal and your vision is. And, Dr. A talks about primary choices, secondary choices, and then everything in the middle is your strategy and your steps to get there. So a structural tension chart, ideally, we could have multiple of these for different goals in our life, right? You could have a structural tension chart for yourself. And this is a good model to work from even with your clients around your own personal health. Right. So to give you an example, look at, if this was my structural tension chart, so there's your name, et cetera, on it. It always starts at the bottom. What is your current reality? So if you think about the map, what's your current reality, right? How did you finish out your month last month, et cetera? Then we go to the top and we say, okay, what's my goal? What is it I want to create? What do I want to accomplish? What's my desired outcome? And I also think we should probably have some timeframes in here. So your primary goal is, okay, I want to reduce my body fat to 24%. Let's say that's my goal, right? Currently it's whatever it is, 26 point something %. Okay, so that's my primary goal. All right. My secondary choices, this is part of my strategy. We're going to talk about this in Aim to Stay. These are the action steps that are going to be taken to help me achieve that goal. Right. So within here, primary choices up here, this might be during the given month. I'm going to have my secondary choices. Then I'm going to follow my specific eating plan, getting a certain amount of grams of protein and staying within a caloric range. Then I'm going to strength train X amount times per week, that I'm going to get cardio X amount per week, exactly. I'm going to hydrate, whatever. So those are the steps I'm going to take in between. So if you think about this with your map, they've done with the map is they just translated this where, it goes in here, but it's really, your map should be it should just talk to you and tell you what do you need to get from current reality to goal or vision. So any questions on this, the structural tension chart, and you can just Google Optavia structural tension chart, and this is in the coach resources. So if this is something that would help you in working with your clients and developing their strategy, et cetera, or helping to integrate them more fully, that would be a good tool to be working from, or just to kind of get it in place for yourself. So questions or comments, or do you feel like this could be useful if we focused more in this direction? Yes.
Yeah, I've been using it, Dee. And I've been, I don't, and have it like, especially with my coaches, like having them focus on one thing in their business. So like if they're struggling, like I actually talked to Lucy about this today. If they're struggling with client acquisition, then have like a goal for specifically client acquisition, and then all that growth creative mindset of what can I do to help in that. That's something they talked about in Portland last year. Terry and David talked about, they have their clients always submit a structural tension chart with their map. I thought that was great.
Yeah. And I love that, because you hear what she said, like there's actually a way that you can actually create, not to get too complicated, but structural tension within structural tension, right? Like a smaller structural tension chart within your bigger map, your smaller structural tension might be in terms of what's your strategy and your action in this particular area. And a big reason for doing this, you guys, and I like the way you broke that down, Lucy and Lauren, is we want to be able to help get small wins, right? Small wins is what begets success. It makes confidence, and that we can build to those bigger dreams. So for example, if you had, a coach on your team, let's say, and one of their bigger dreams is they want to buy a lake house. Well, that might be way down the road, but a smaller dream might be, what would it cost for you to rent a lake house for a week with your family? And let's work towards that. Like, what would it take financially, right? So Dan Bell had also said, also backing in your goals and putting the financial dollar on it. Like, what would it take? Getting crystal clear. So, maybe it's that this person initially is renting, a lake house 3 times a month so that they can keep that goal in their forefront, et cetera. So, very good. Oh, good. So Jennifer says she used it a lot. It was, I guess Adele had done something with structural tension. So, okay, so let's hop over to Aim to Stay, and I can get you this document. A lot of it is not new information. It's just laid out, I think, in a good way. And this was Dr. A's baby a couple of years ago. Well, let me find it. Hang with me. Okay, can you see this? Aim to Stay. All right. I'm gonna try to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so the aim, all right, and this applies to you, it applies to the coaches on our teams, as well as our clients. But we talk about awakening, right? So everything that we're doing, whether it's with your client or whatever, is awakening, just to ask those open-ended questions, to dive in and listen, to find out what it is they really want. And sometimes it's not easy, especially with potential clients. Full transparency, I did Beth was not feeling well, so we did a 3-way call with a potential client she received as a lead. And I mean, the lady had her walls up. I mean, it took a while to get those walls down, other than I need to lose 25 pounds. I just want to. That's what I know my healthy weight is. It was just very cold, but it took a while to break those walls down. But once we did, the whole conversation flowed better. But we want to get those. And then, whatever. But A is also in acquiring, right? Acquiring and building, as we are a relationship business. If you missed the Power Hour today on social media, it was phenomenal. But really talking about cultivating those relationships. And I love this when he says a health coach has one mission: to awaken desires and discover what those desires are. But the other key point of this is to remember, I love that Dr. A talks about being autonomy supportive, which means that we are just servicing, we're helping, supporting our clients, right? And our coaches, that we're just guiding them on this way, that their success is not, it's more about, I love what he says, success in coaching relationships does not lie in what you want, but rather what the other person needs and wants. And this is so important as we're bringing on new coaches and helping them along and desiring whatever, that everything, it's got to be in the eyes of what do they want versus that you want that for them because it helps you get your rank or whatever, or that you see it bigger than them, that it's got to follow along. And then the IM and AIM is for that intrinsic motivation. And so definitely that empathetic coaching where, you know, it allows somebody to be doing something because they really are clear in what it translates for them. And the same thing applies to you as well. So questions are around the AIM, or do you feel equipped to be able to do this, or do you feel pretty good about it? If you had to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, and if you have coaches on your team, scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being like, I know exactly what my coaches want, and you know when they want to achieve it and what their desires are. If you had to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in terms of being aware of that? 8.3, that's good. That's better than me. I wouldn't be that high. 7, 7.45. All right, cool. Yeah. Does anybody ever feel like maybe you knew at one point and this person came in excited and then got discouraged? A 2.75. Thank you, Connie. And then maybe they got discouraged and they just kind of drifted, right? And we didn't stay hip to hip with them. Yeah. And so I think that's honestly what I think our biggest challenge is, even for ourselves, right? Like I just was being vulnerable with you saying, I lost my vision. I mean, I actually now have a new journal. It's not this one, but it says dream, plan, do. And I've started my whole list of dreams again and what it is that I want, short-term, midterm, long-term. But when we get fuzzy, we're just going through the motions and it's just not clear. And then if it gets hard, that's when we're more likely to just put it to the side. So before I go on to stay, I felt like Connie, you might've had your hand up before. Did you have something to share?
It was about the structural tension, but it kind of relates to this in a way about smarter goals, because if you make them smart, then they're measurable and they're realistic. It's kind of like the by when, and I make them smarter because I like for them to really be like enjoyable. Because if you're not enjoying this and it's too much like hard work, you kind of lose interest. But also, how are you going to reward yourself when you achieve this step?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, right? Acknowledging it. If you saw actually do me a favor, if you'll go in and comment on it. But one of my clients posted, she was really getting caught up in how much further she needed to go with her weight loss. And so I challenged her to write down write down her next goal we did a SMART goal. What's your next goal? What do you want before you leave on that cruise? And getting her to get the clarity and start thinking that way, because everything was starting to seem so big and so far off that she was starting to self-sabotage. And she did it, So I think, like I said, breaking it down. And so if she can say, I'll be down 10 pounds by June 1st or whatever, and check that off, well, that's 10 pounds of her 100 pounds that she's got to go so she can feel some success. So thanks for bringing that up. All right, in the interest of time, I'm going to go on into stay, which is the next part of it. And I think this is where I tend to lose some focus and where the structural tension comes in. So strategy is exactly that, right? What's the game plan? How are we going to get there? So the initial, he's talking about clients here, but one of our strategies is we're looking to make our clients integrated clients. Right. So they want to get to their goal weight, right? That's their goal. That they want helping them get integrated as part of it. So that's got to be part of the strategy. And why we're talking so much about the agreements when we're bringing on new clients is, hey, okay, here's the strategy. We're going to help you get to your goal weight, et cetera, by incorporating the 4 components of our program. The tactics break it down more specifically. So these are going to be the steps. So like when I talked about reducing my body fat, right? My strategy is I'm gonna, exercise and eat right in order to get to that goal. But then the tactics have to be specific. So it's more about the day-to-day activities that somebody is going to do. So this is where we can incorporate like being on the Monday night call, reading in their life book for 5 minutes. So these are the detailed secondary choices following the 5 and 1 that somebody would make in order to get to that bigger goal of reaching their healthy weight. And then, so those are the steps. And then the action is the specific action. It's to me, those are kind of related, but it's the action. And I really want to talk about this in a way regarding new coaches. I'm going to jump tracks for a second because I thought they gave a really good example. So you and yours is how we don't leave anything to chance, and that everybody understands what their role is in terms of what's next. So for example, with your clients, right, it might be like leaving them like, hey, we're going to talk again next week. Do me a favor, text me a takeaway from tonight's Monday night community call. Right? So they know what's expected. You know what's expected, right? I'm going to call you next week at this time. So that is an agreement that you're saying, this is what I know I'm going to do. And then that you're clear on what you're going to do. But I think this one is especially important, and we can talk in more detail about it maybe on a future call, but especially if you think about the stay, if we were talking about launching new coaches. So we awaken, right? We awaken the intrinsic motivation, like what would be life like if they could, dream with them, help them, if time and money wasn't an option, what is it that you would want, right? What would your life look like? And then breaking that down into the strategy and action. But they were talking about, and I thought this was a brilliant example, like the you and yours, if the goal is to help them, right? What's the next thing? Well, we need to help find some clients. So we're going to, start with your list of who are you going to reach out to, et cetera. But have a timeline, right? Okay. When do you think you could get that done? Okay. I'm going to follow up with you in 2 days to see how we're doing with that. Or you are going to have those calls on my calendar within the next 48 hours. So being real clear. And they talked about not letting too much time go by, right? That if it doesn't happen by that day, circle back. Did something happen? Did some life get in the way? But I think especially with launching new coaches, this is where if we're not running that hip to hip relationship and what happens next, that you and yours, that's where that gap can start to widen, right? Between what somebody wants and what they're actually going to do. And that's when fear can set in and begin to multiply big. So for me, this was very helpful to put it back into terms because I realized I'm just honestly had kind of been dropping the ball on the stay piece of it and maybe not digging as deep when I really look. Like I've got it on my calendar this week to go through all my frontline coaches and get back with them on what do they want, right? Where are they in life, et cetera. So would love just some interactive conversation here. And Meg, if you have anything to drop in, I'd love to hear from you as well. Vicky.
So I scored really low on this. Connie, I was just above you with a 3, just so you know. And I think for me, the majority of the coaches that I have, with probably 2 exceptions, have been the ones that have been straddling. I'm not sure if I have time. They have other jobs, and that balance of I don't want to scare them away. And I have to say that I've probably been coming more of a mindset of, oh my God, I need you to maintain my, again, rank driven, right? And letting go of that's been really hard because I want to know what they want. But then when I think for me, when I hear the feedback, oh, you know what, if somebody comes to me and they want it, that's fine, but I'm really not going to do anything beyond that. They get their warm market, their friends, their sister, their mother. And then after that, there's just been this wall. So for me, I think honestly, I haven't really dug deep with that because I don't want to hear, I feel like I know what the answer is. And it's, I don't know what to do with that because it is that intrinsic motivation. If they're not intrinsically motivated, then I feel like it's my job to motivate them and be the rah-rah, but that's not helpful. It's just, I just have to take them where they are, which is probably, anyway, so it feeds a circular. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but.
I can definitely relate to that, Vicki. And when I graded myself, I was also thinking about those coaches that like, man, if only so-and-so really knew what was possible for her, like things would be so different. So I think it's for me, what I try to do, and I just want to acknowledge I have a lot of coaches like that, but I try to see if they're happy or if there's anything in them that wants to make a bigger impact, or anything in them that wants to make $2,000 a month, or anything in them that wants to whatever. And I'll just ask them like, hey, is there anything in you that wants more of this? And if the answer is no, then I just kind of let them go and circle back with them in 3 months, but I stop pushing all my energy into them, because you're right, it comes off frantic and it's frustrating and it takes the joy out of it.
But then I have a question about that, because I think like asking those questions to find out is there anything that would but then it's all money driven. And occasionally you have people that, I've got somebody who's a pharmaceutical rep. She makes great money. She could really care less about the money. Like that's not even been a motivation. And I thought it would have come from a service standpoint. She hit the ground running and did really well, and then nothing now. So I sort of feel like it's my fault for not staying kind of hip to hip. But, you want to engage with people that seem to want it versus the ones that don't really want it. So I'm curious about maybe what other probing questions you have that maybe aren't around the financial piece, which I think for a lot of people that is, but somebody like Jennifer who just said like, this is just play money. Like, I don't know that would be.
Yeah. So what comes to mind is one thing, like, is there anything in you that wants to make a bigger impact? Another question that I would love to ask, and just because somebody comes in for their play money doesn't mean it's not helpful, right? Like, doesn't mean they can't travel or put their kids in private school or do something significant. But so just wanted to point that little bit out. But I would say too, I'm hearing from a lot of coaches that are like, man, it looked like y'all had so much fun in Dallas. Is there anything in you that wants to be there? Because I want to work with you to get there. We've got an event coming up in October. It's going to be incredible. Do you want to be there? And then see if that's enough to get them at least into action to get some wins.
Those are great. Thank you.
And the other thing, I was going to say one more thing, Shauna, before that is also vision casting. I think just be careful. And Dan Bell had to work a lot with me on this. Be careful of thinking people are fine and they don't need or want any more money, right? People that earn a lot, very often they value money, right? They value money, but she might make 200,000 as a pharmaceutical rep. Does she know it's possible to make $500,000 as a Optavia coach? So some of it sometimes is like, I remember Dr. A saying, like, what if you could make stupid money? Like, what would that feel like? So if we could start to maybe unleash some of those barriers, and that's only through relationship, and talking and whatever. So that might've been the path you were going down, Shauna. I would love to hear what you have to share.
It is. You kind of stole the words right out of my mouth. Frank always told me in working with cardiothoracic surgeons, they're just broke on a higher level. They may live the lifestyle, they may appear to have the money, they may say they're okay, but they're just broke on a higher level. And almost everybody that I have that I've talked to that's been curious around coaching, I can always pull something they could do with the money. And they may go, I don't really need the money. But then when we start digging into it, could you use it for vacations? Could you use it to pay for, like Dee said, for one of your kids' colleges? I mean, there's always something. And I think sometimes when people say, oh, I don't need the money, it's their pride talking, because they don't want you to know that they've got this great job, but they really need the money. They could use the money, or, you could have a situation where like me, I didn't work. Frank brought in all the income. I did, I just wanted play money. But when I look at the big picture, could we use the money? Heck yeah, we could use the money, because I didn't know my husband wanted to come home from work. So there's always something.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's have Connie and Lauren share as we wrap up.
Yeah, after I came back from Dallas, I've been listening to The Big Leap. And if you've not, and I read it 7 years ago. I'm hearing something totally different after Dallas about time, the time excuse, as where they use that as resistance of, I don't have enough time, you know, I'm busy and got kids. And when you dig in and you talk to them about creating your own time, even whether it's using structural tension or not, but it's where are your values and what would allow it, because she may be spending tons of time as a pharmaceutical rep on the road and that kind of thing, and really values her family the most and would rather stay home with her family and have family time. And so you can approach, if that's the excuse, you know, kind of going underneath that too. But I really offer for your consideration. It has changed, and I don't know, it's not that, it's just made it even more just rich listening to that book after last weekend, because I've had lots of awarenesses with that. So
thanks for that reminder. That is, I know Lori Cole, you read that book recently, The Big Leap. Is it Hendricks? I forget who wrote that. But yeah, and actually I would love to pull that out again. And it really is about the limits and the ceilings we place on ourselves. And quite frankly, most people don't get it. If you would have told me I would be earning what I make in Optavia, I wouldn't have even believed you back then. I mean, you know, it took a while to warm up to it, but once I caught the vision, it was like, wow. All right, we'll finish up with you, Lauren.
Yeah, similar to that, I was just going to say, you know, I'm so grateful that I was presented the opportunity, because I was making 6 figures as an NP, but I never dreamed that I could be sitting in a hammock on a Monday afternoon at the park with my girls while I'm working, and, you know, working way less hours than I was working full time as an NP, and way less stress. And so I think just that reminder of there's so many people out there who may be working a very, you know, I would say being a nurse practitioner, like I went to a ton of school and it was like my identity and I, you know, loved it, but being able to be a more present mom has been the biggest gift. And so I think just, you never know, you know, I'm so grateful that someone didn't hold back from sharing with me. And so we just never know. I think that awakening piece is so important, whether it's more time, freedom, and flexibility, or whether it's having an additional stream of income to go to Disney World, you know, things like that, whatever. But anyway, I just wanted to share that perspective as well.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. And I know it took a little time, right? It took a little time before you know, it was really through an event, you got the vision of that it could even be an option. So, and I think ego is something that gets in the way, right? Of a lot of us. Thank you guys for being on. My encouragement and challenge for you is to spend this week, to spend some time, kind of going back to your own roots of what is it that you want, you know, one, celebrate, appreciate what Optavia has been doing for you, but taking it beyond achieving a certain rank. But if you're looking to grow, what will that translate to? And come up with kind of your own short-term, mid-term, long-term goals and share that with your coach, because the more comfortable we are with it as individuals ourselves and knowing what we're going for, and then knowing we can only achieve it. That was the game changer for me from global to presidential and beyond, was the shift to then being able to start to ask questions of others to come alongside them to be able to do it. So just imagine the lives we could impact if we just start, you know, digging a little deeper. I mean, this is what makes Optavia unique. And I think the biggest thing we want to just make sure is we're not slipping into a trap of, you know, just helping people get on the 5 and 1 and, you know, counting heads to get to a rank. And I know that's nobody's intention, but we can, it's a lot more fun and enjoyable when it goes bigger for everybody involved. So appreciate you guys. We are going to celebrate you on the call tonight with our April celebrations. So make sure you're on right at 7:28. And then we've got a really phenomenal call around healthy finances. So we'd really encourage you and challenge you to bring on your coaches with you to that as well. And we're trying to get to the goal of 100 coaches. We just know if we get 100 coaches or more on that call every week, we're really going to start to multiply our impact. So thanks for being here. Thanks for your transparency. This is really what I want us to be as a leadership team. So appreciate every one of you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. See ya.